let's speak about Workhorse, baby. What is happening, investors? It is your boy Jack. I am not a financial advisor. I got the hoodie to prove it. And it's Friday. And you all know what that means. It means we're going to update you guys on everything that's going on in regards to Workhorse. So this week has been pretty interesting. There's been some really weird price action going on. If you're following along, you'll be aware. There has been some pieces of news that came out, a lot of which this week in particular revolves around the USPS. It was a massive week for USPS news. And today, Friday, and tomorrow, Saturday, there are some big things happening as well. So depending on what does happen over the next couple of days, I may end up making another update video on Sunday or Monday, but we'll see. So at this stage, guys, you should know that on Fridays we just go through the most up-to-date news. This isn't going to be a basic breakdown of Workhorse from start to finish. I do have videos covering it for the last month and a half or so at least, I'd say, but this is just the most up-to-date information. And we do have quite a bit of news to get to, so let's not waste any time. But right before we get into it, can I please ask you to smash that juicy like button for me? It would mean an awful lot to me. Last week's video I did with the CFO was on over 3,000 likes. Could we try get anywhere near that again? That would be insane. If you're new around here, hit that juicy red subscribe button. Join the family, people. We are getting bigger and bigger every single day. And please drop me a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on Workhorse, what positions you own, all that good stuff. With that being said, let's get into the juicy stuff. So first of all, on the 5-day chart, in general, it's been okay. We were up as much as 12.25% from last Friday's close up until Wednesday's close. It was a nice few days there, people. A lot of you will be aware. As of right now, we're up just over 5.5%. There's been some nice up moves, there's been some minor pullbacks, there's been a lot of people speculating, new resistance, new support, blah, blah, blah. Look, guys, you don't need to overanalyze absolutely everything. It's a stock, just like any other stock. There's going to be ups and downs. There isn't a single company in this world that just goes up every single day forever. And me personally, I'm not too worried about the price action in general. I'm not too worried about it going up or down. If it goes down, that's generally when I go ahead and just buy more shares. And that's exactly what I did on Monday. You may remember it actually dipped sub $15. I went ahead and I bought 20 more shares and we closed the day at $15.61. And since then, we went on a nice run and we're up a little bit. I'm currently at 120 shares for the record. If we drop below 16 today, especially if we drop towards 15.50 or so, which I don't expect to happen, but it very well could. Fridays, we've seen a lot of red Fridays over the last month or so. I may well buy a little bit more, but I'm not too pushed if I don't. So that's what the stock chart actually looks like, okay? The first thing I want to go through just a little bit is this article here, okay? 3 reasons why Workhorse stock is a long-term winner. So, last mile delivery and Workhorse. This is obviously the biggest reason, is last mile delivery and their place in the world for it. Workhorse is the epicenter of what will be an enormous disruption of the last mile delivery market over the next 5 to 10 years. And to me, that is single-handedly the most exciting thing about Workhorse. That is what they are, people. Again, keep in mind, Workhorse isn't a USPS contract. That is not what they are. There is so much more to them than that. The US delivery van market is huge. More than 350,000 last mile delivery vans are sold every year at an average price right now of $50,000 per vehicle, which again, we can expect to go up over time. They're a leader in the emerging category, okay? Whenever I look at EV, okay, I want to get into the leader. I want to get into who I believe could be the biggest in their particular sector of electric vehicles. And when it comes to last mile electric vehicles, I think that is Workhorse without a doubt in my mind personally. Now, this is what I really want to speak about. The fact that Workhorse Group stock is not overvalued. So bears, okay, correctly point out that the market cap is $1.6 billion. As of recording this, it's actually $1.7 billion. Yet revenues last quarter were less than $100,000. So at face value, that seems absolutely crazy. But pointing to a trailing sales figure as a way to value a next-gen growth company is inappropriate. And this is something that I have said in so many videos lately, people. You cannot value a growth stock at this stage of their life based off of, PE ratios, etc. It makes no sense. We're not looking at Johnson & Johnson here. We're not looking at Procter & Gamble. You have to look forward. They give a really nice breakdown of what things could look like in the future here. About 23% of today's delivery fleets are comprised of clean technology. Those fleet owners expect the number to rise to nearly 50% within 5 years. At that rate, okay, roughly 75% of America's 350,000 annual last mile delivery van market could be electric by 2030. For total annual deliveries of over 260,000. So Workhorse is in a great position, okay, they're in a great stage of their life cycle, and they could easily grab 10% of that market. And I think this is extremely true. But I also personally believe that 10% could be a relatively low estimate. But anyway, if we work off of 10%, that equates to just over 26,000 deliveries by 2030. Now, they say the average sales price could be around $75,000 by then. That could be true, that could be realistic, it's hard to know. So at that average selling price, total revenues for Workhorse could measure nearly $2 billion by 2030. So assuming a 20% operating margin, which again, I think potentially we could have an even better operating margin in all honesty, and a 20% tax rate, that equates to about $315 million in potential net profits by 2030. So a market average 17 times forward earnings multiple on that implies a future market cap for Workhorse of $5.4 billion. And again, I think a 17 times forward earnings multiple, that's low, people. That is low for an electric vehicle stock. Even in 10 years time, in 2030, I would expect us to be trading at a considerably higher multiple. So that 5.4 billion figure is a little bit more than 3 times where we're sitting at right now. And I mean, when I read through this, I think it is extremely conservative in every way possible. I mean, I think this wouldn't even be an average case scenario. I think this would be one of the worser case scenarios for Workhorse. I could very realistically see a world, okay, where for one they trade at a much higher multiple. I mean, it is not uncommon to see that in disruptive technology or in EV in general. I also think they could very easily have a bigger part of that total market share. I mean, look at the people who they're working with. Already UPS, okay? If they get the USPS contract, that's going to last a very long time, well past 2030. Think of the reputation this company is going to have between all of the other big couriers. So to me here, this pretty much 3 times valuation is actually still low. And guys, that math doesn't include any upside from the company's strategic partnership with Lordstown Motors. There was no mention of drones in there either. There was no mention of their 50% stake in Shorefly either. This here, as far as I can gauge, is just completely and utterly off of their electric last mile delivery vehicles. And if you've watched my previous videos, you know that I think there's a lot more to Workhorse than just their vehicles. So again guys, when you take all of that into account, this could be an incredibly low estimation, and it's already more than a 3x. So simply put guys, at $1.7 billion today, Workhorse is not overvalued. So that was just something I wanted to bring to people's attention, speak about the valuation a little bit. Now, some more of the juicy news that's going on, and specifically some things that you need to keep an eye on over the weekend. So we have a lot to speak about in regards to USPS. So 2 bad pieces of press first of all, okay? There is this here. A US Postal Service truck catches fire in Natick. And we've seen a few articles like this over the last month or so, where USPS vehicles essentially just spontaneously combust into flames. That shows just how outdated these vehicles are right now, and how unsafe they are right now. And this ultimately is going to put more pressure onto USPS to ensure that this contract goes through far sooner rather than later. I mean, they have a history already of pushing it back. Now, it was due to unforeseen circumstances. I don't blame them for doing so. But I mean, the pressure is on people. You cannot just have your trucks going on fire. And another really bad piece of news, okay? Thousands of chicks arrived deceased to farmers amid USPS turmoil. Now, the thing is, guys, obviously this is all really bad news. You don't want vehicles on fire. You don't want livestock literally dying in transit. That is terrible. And it is bad press for the USPS. But again, from an investor's point of view, okay, especially somebody who's looking into Workhorse, bad press is going to create this sense of urgency. The Postmaster General, Louis DeJoy, the pressure is going to be on, and he is speaking today. There is speculation that something may be said about the contract over the weekend. Again guys, there's speculation every single weekend. I'm not trying to get too tied up in it. That's why I'm just focusing on building my position over time, so that whenever something does come out, I already have my position. But things like this, people, that are creating bad press, could actually be good for us investors. So first things first, today, okay, the Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee are speaking on hearings to examine the finances and operations of the United States Postal Service during the Roni and the upcoming elections. So one thing that needs to be said is this, okay? The Post Office Chief suspends controversial changes until after the election. So Postmaster General Louis DeJoy has announced he will suspend the controversial changes he instituted to the US Postal Service until after the November election. To avoid even the appearance of any impact on election mail, I am suspending these initiatives until after the election is concluded. He said that between now and election day, retail hours at post offices will not change. No mail processing facilities will be closed. Mail processing equipment and collection boxes will remain in place, and overtime for workers will be approved when needed. Now, DeJoy is also going to appear for a House hearing next week on Monday. So essentially, guys, there is a lot happening over the weekend and Monday in regards to the USPS, which obviously could have some sort of an effect on Workhorse, and obviously something could ultimately get said about the new fleet. Now, one more thing is this. The White House is open to looking at the $25 billion in Postal Service funding, the press secretary has said. So the Trump administration will consider greenlighting the $25 billion in emergency funding for the US Postal Service, depending on other provisions that are contained in the Roney relief package, the White House press has said. So I mean, we all know that the USPS has just turned into this whole big political thing. It's right at the center of politics right now. And we all know that in the past, Trump has said he's not going to fund the USPS, okay? In fact, he said he's going to defund them. And then he's went back on his word and said, no, we want to make the post office great again. We want to fund them. We want them to be powerful. And guys, this is something that's typical Trump fashion. He wants the good press, okay? He wants to be the man who turns things around. He wants people to praise him. If he can save the USPS, it's going to be amazing for him. And if he can save the USPS and make sure that Workhorse gets a portion of that contract, it's going to do amazing things for him in Ohio, which we all know at this stage he really needs. So seeing a headline like this, after seeing the headlines that we saw last week, fills me with optimism for one, definitely as a Workhorse investor. So a few more things in regards to this. The Trump administration agreed only to provide it with a $10 billion loan. This was all previous. The White House has signaled that the $10 billion loan remains its offer for the Postal Service for the time being, but they have said in this article that that's not the cap. It could go up to $25 billion. On Monday, White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows dismissed the notion that the agency is in dire need of funding, telling reporters aboard Air Force One that a lot of the headlines are not indicative of what's actually taking place. I know the post office really well. It's not an issue of money. They've got over $10 billion cash on hand. They've got another line of credit. And this brings me on to this article right here. The post office has a financial problem, not a crisis. I do think that a lot of outlets are making this out to be something absolutely insane that it just isn't. Despite the various troubles the USPS had faced during the Roney crisis, the Postal Service actually reported a slightly smaller net loss in the quarter that ended June 30th than it did the same quarter of 2019. That was because Roney accelerated reductions in first class mail and especially marketing mail, okay? Volumes were offset by a sharp increase in package volumes, with more Americans staying home and shopping online. So this here is quite a big thing to me. The surge in package volumes up 50%. I mean, that's a lot, guys, and I don't think that's going to slow down anytime soon. I just don't think that the position the USPS is in right now is as bad as a lot of people are making it out to be, and I think it is just completely and utterly politically driven. So we all know at this stage Trump has demanded that the USPS raises its rates for delivering packages, and this is something that DeJoy had announced, and that is what he is now saying is not going to happen until after election times. And guys, let's keep in mind the USPS is government owned. A post office that loses a few $billion a year is affordable for a country with a GDP of $20 trillion. The concept that the Postal Service should be financially self-supporting has always been somewhat arbitrary, and I agree with that. It is not treated in the law like a business. It has certain money-losing service obligations imposed on it for considered policy reasons. Most importantly, the USPS is required to deliver first-class mail at a fixed price across the whole country, even in places where delivery costs per piece are relatively high. It also enjoys a monopoly in the first class and junk mail markets, which allows it to charge higher prices and earn greater profits than it might otherwise be able to. USPS is not a business, you know what I mean? It does not exist entirely to be profitable. And again, guys, I just think that Trump, you know, at the end of the day, he wants the USPS to be good. He has said this. And despite the fact he's said he won't fund them, blah, 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 come on, he's going to. I think we all know he's going to. He's a smart man. He knows that he has to get the votes in. But keep your eyes peeled over these next few days. There will be a lot of information coming out in regards to the USPS. And again, if they are getting desperate, something is going to have to be said about the electric fleet that is inevitably coming. Okay, that's enough politics. Okay? I can only handle so much. Let's speak about Lordstown Motors for a minute. They're taking on 61 new employees, and this is literally all across the board, every kind of job you could pretty much imagine, which is pretty exciting. I mean, more employees is always exciting, and let's not forget the fact that Workhorse also just announced the fact that they hired more employees through the Q2 earnings. I mean, if you're in a terrible position, you're not hiring more employees, you're trying to survive. Both of these companies are currently hiring, and hiring quite aggressively. Why do they need a culinary associate? Imagine you work for Lordstown Motors and someone's like, well, what do you do? I prepare sandwiches. But aside from that, there are loads of, you know, more senior jobs being advertised right now. So that's just a little thing, but something exciting nonetheless. Something I want to bring up is that there has been a lot of terrible news articles brought out lately. I mean, really bad news articles. I'm like, people get paid for these and they haven't done the smallest bit of research. This here, August 19th, Oshkosh Corp reportedly among 5 finalists for the $6.3 billion USPS Postal Service contract to make mail trucks. Well, first of all, there's only 3 players left. And also there was an article, I can't find it right now, but there was an article out there, a lot of you probably saw it, I believe it was from Fox News, that said Oshkosh got awarded the contract. There has just been so much ridiculous articles out this week, it's not even been funny. I mean, these people get paid a lot of money. But I did just want to make that clear to you guys. I mean, don't believe everything you read. If you're doing your due diligence, you'll be okay. Next thing I want to speak about, Samuel H. Benjamin. On the 18th of August, okay, he went ahead and sold 500,000 shares of Workhorse. And there was some people panicking about this. 2 days later, he went ahead and bought maybe 370,000 warrants. This is just something I wanted to point out though, because I'm sure people are going to bring it up. It doesn't seem like a big deal at all to me. And of course, we have to speak about what ARK Invest is doing. And we can see here, okay, that Workhorse is now the 22nd biggest holding in their RQ, okay, at 547,000 total shares. They have more in Workhorse than Apple. I mean, Workhorse was down very much so, nearly at the bottom of this holding at one stage. And it has just been going up and up and up every single week. ARK has been buying very aggressively at every single dip, people. And again, I've spoke about this in the past, but that fills me as an investor with absolutely massive confidence. I mean, these guys are geniuses. Cathy Wood's a genius. They have outperformed the market so much. So to see them holding this much, I think it is incredible. And I think they're just going to keep buying and buying and buying. I mean, last week we saw them add, what was it, nearly 48,000 shares in a day. I mean, that's a lot of shares, people. So all in all, guys, I still feel the same way I always have. Am I upset that we're not shooting up to the $17 and $18 range? No, not at all, people. It has given me more of a chance to buy. As I said, I bought on that dip that happened only the start of this week. It was all good. And to be honest, as I said earlier on in the video, I may well buy more shares today. I may just try to get up to 150 clean shares if we do dip towards 1550 or so. But honestly, I don't really see that happening. And I don't think a lot of people do. I mean, yeah, we could quite easily dip below 16 and bounce around a little bit, but we'll just have to see what happens, people. So that is it for the update on Workhorse this week. As I said, a lot of news happening over the next few days, so I may well end up making a follow-up video Sunday, Monday, or even Tuesday. It all depends on what happens. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. I know generally on this channel, we love Workhorse, baby. I'm still an absolutely massive bull. I still love everything about them. They're still the biggest portion of my portfolio. And keep in mind, guys, I have so many more videos on Workhorse. If you want to check out my last one in particular, there is a lot of juicy information in regards to their growth prospects going forwards. Ultimately, guys, I just think the name of the game with Workhorse right now is, you know, having strong hands, believing in the due diligence and the research that you have done, not worrying about every 2% dip or 2% upwards movement. There is going to be so many of them. We are a very volatile company right now, and it is going to take some time until that is not the case. It could literally be months, people, so don't stress yourselves every single time there is a 2% move, because the majority of days that is exactly what we are going to get. We just gotta hold the bag, baby. We just gotta hold the bag and wait till Workhorse makes us all rich. But anyway, guys, if you have watched until the end of the video, I appreciate you so much. You are genuinely helping me and the channel out immensely. You, my friend, are a true legend. With that being said, guys, I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day. I will see you all for another video later on. Peace.